4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, this is Nicole Johnson Star with the PTSD Retreat Radio Talk Show with our guest Carol Graham. We are continuing, and folks, if you have, right now, those of you on Spreaker have not gotten to hear the whole background. So to hear the uncut version, you're going to want to go to the YouTube when we post everything, because we've had this wonderful conversation running in the background. I feel totally connected to Carol on so many levels, and if we were sitting here together, I'd have tears all over because we'd be hugging. So, Carol, we just finished discussing how tears, when I explained to you how when it overflows, just let it overflow, because we've just got too much pent up inside. And I loved how you said it's like a balloon. You get to share that again.
I'd love to share that, and I think it fits with your PTSD retreat, and everybody is going through something that could become a post-traumatic, it could be. I mean, everybody, whether it's a car wreck or they're just losses continuously through life, and I recently heard Bob Delaney, he's actually an amazing speaker, he shared an analogy like a balloon that's filled up with air, and how are the ways you can get the air out. And he said, you could pop it, and it's all the air's gone, but then you've destroyed your balloon. He said, or you can, just like turn it loose if you haven't tied the knot, and it just goes everywhere, and you have no control over it. He said, you can just let the air out a little tiny bit at a time, and it's squeaky and sometimes kind of uncomfortable, but it's the only way to save the balloon, to have an intact balloon that, again, can be blown up again. If it needs to be used again, it is perfectly usable. And I think it was one of the best analogies I've ever heard about what we hold inside. I was sharing with Nicole so often people get migraines, including I've given them to myself when I've tried to suck it up too long, or people, it can even manifest in stomach aches. It can turn into ulcers. But I think when we have a friend like Nicole, somebody that we can share a cup of tea with, a cup of coffee, just to be together, so we don't have to carry whatever we're going through alone. We can get it out. We can talk it out, and we're not alone. And we can share our joys and our sorrows, our hopes, our dreams, and I truly think that's what Nicole's doing today. She's so precious. I told her I wanted to hug her, and I'm sending hugs across the internet.
Don't worry. One of these days, we are definitely going to meet. I'm going to come to Kentucky. I mean, you guys have a weird accent out there, but that's okay. I love you anyway. But it's, the kid in me, the inner child in me, the kid, just goes, you know what, I remember taking those balloons and making those funny sounds. We'd call, okay, this is going to be rather crass. We would say the balloons had gas. And we would do that. So it can be fun, too, letting go of things, especially with, great people. You folks, if you haven't met Carol or you haven't heard her speak, or you really deserve to, because she's so much fun, and I've only gotten to be on the radio with her now twice, and I'm telling you, I can't wait to meet her in person. So it could be fun. And right now I'm wrapped up in a blanket. She's got her coffee, and we're just chit-chatting. And I'm laughing as much as I am. Tears have been running down my face, and I've been laughing. And it's fun. I'm just, let that balloon make that funky sound. It's okay. And sometimes it is worth it to just let the balloon go. Sometimes we just need to just let it all go and, have that breakdown for that moment. And it is okay. I mean, don't let anyone say, suck it up and drive on. No. Sometimes you get to just take that time. And I always tell folks, take care of your buddy, take care of your buddy, take care of your buddies. And the first buddy in that take care of your buddies list is yourself.
Amen.
If you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to be there for the next buddy, which is your take care of your buddy, your battle buddy, your person that's right next to you, your best friend, your husband, your brother, your sister, your children? How can you do it? You get to take care of yourself. And so once you take care of yourself, then you can take care of your best friend and your spouse, and then you can take care of the third one, take care of your buddies. That's your teammates, all of your team. Being there for your team, or if you're not in the military, your family. Your entire family, because they depend on us. Each of us, the family is a family unit. Each person is so important and integral to that unit. And Carol, I know you can speak from this from many different avenues. It's so important.
I'm just thinking that the letting it out, and the only thing I would piggyback on that with is choose really safe people when you
Yes.
just so that you're in an environment, but because I don't know, I think some people can handle the squeaky noise coming out of our balloon, and then sometimes I don't worry whether somebody else can handle it or not, but when I really feel like I am at a breaking point, and believe me, I have been there. I have had thoughts of suicide. For a whole year, the first year, I tried to figure out time travel, so I don't think I was okay. But I had countless friends who would come over, have coffee, have tea, take me to lunch. Sometimes I couldn't even eat anything, but I was with them. So when I wept, when I really couldn't even hardly take a breath, they were there. And so I think find those people that let you just be real, and then they're going to be the ones that come to you, and when they're there for you, then trust me, they know you'll be there for them. And I actually, the one lady that was the closest, dearest, sweetest sister to me, after our boys died, tragically a year later, lost her son. Betty Cerrone lost her son in Iraq, and she had cared for me, brought food to the house, cried with me, and then and that's exactly what I was just saying. I mean, when her son was killed, it just was. She said I was, other than the family, I was the first one she called, and of course we jumped on an airplane. And we weren't living in the same town at that time, but I think that's what we do with our, as you said, battle buddies, with our friends, with our, and sometimes our friends understand us more than our own family. You know, sometimes our own siblings, our own blood family doesn't get us as much as our battle buddies do, and I bet Nicole can talk to that about that even more.
You know what's funny, Carol, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I had wanted to say it when we were doing the Talking with Heroes program last week. Family is not always blood. Folks, some of you are going to identify with what I'm about to say so intensely. There are times, especially in a military soldier's life or someone who's been through trauma, where our buddies become our family. And even at home, it doesn't matter. Sometimes the best family is the family we've chosen, not the family we were born with, and it's okay, because it's just more family. And sometimes, just like Carol's saying, it is better. Carol, you brought it up last week, and I'm so grateful you brought it up today, and I guess I just had to throw that out there, because the PTSD retreat recognizes that family isn't always blood. And one of the things we always tell people is that the PTSD retreat is not just there for the soldier, and folks, you know, when I say soldier, I mean military member or veteran. It's not just there for the soldier, it's also there for their family. And they don't have to be with their soldier, because secondary PTSD, compassion fatigue, these things are all prevalent in the family of those supporting and loving that individual. And people get to know that family isn't always blood. So, thank you so much for saying that.
Well, I just know, like, when you know, I've had even our military family when we've gathered, when they've been gathered with our blood family, you know, and, you know, honestly, they understand this more. You know, our military friends that have lived all over the world, and their kids have gone off to war, or their husbands have. When we're with them, they do understand. My sisters are all, you know, they're married in right around our hometown, Frankfort, Kentucky, and so and actually, just so you know, if you want to come hug me, you got to come to North Carolina. That's where we live.
Oh, see, that's closer. That's right. You guys are near Fayetteville. You guys are in Fayetteville?
Yeah, we're in Fayetteville, right outside.
You guys are so
Kentucky.
close.
You're married in Kentucky. That's our home. They went to college there. But now, if you want to give me a hug, you got to come out to Fort Bragg, right outside of Fort Bragg. But I do think our military brothers and sisters, and as you said, the spouses, the families, it's just different. It's a different kind of connection. And I think, it was a blessing to see our blood family connect with our military family, and tragically, when it all intersected was with two funerals. Mm-hmm. But love, I mean, even as we're all seeing this play out on our televisions in Connecticut, you see the outpouring of love and just compassion in the midst of the most horrific tragedies, and you see the worst and the best in humanity, and I think what Nicole's doing, and pray all the listeners, we want to be the ones that are the arms and hands of God, that we can be the ones that God can use in the midst of tragedy.
Yes.
Just like people are.
You know, I'm actually going to recognize some people, because being a military brat, and for those of you who are civilians, military brat is a military kid. You know, a kid with military parents, and a lot of times that has a double entender, but it's okay. I will say this to Colonel Bickle, Colonel Mitchell, Captain Nelson. My mom worked for these guys, and Colonel Mitchell, I called Grandpa Mitchell. That's how close they were. When I joined the military, they were on the phone with me, with my recruiter. So making sure that recruiter told me everything. It was really awesome, because the recruiter would tell me something, and all of a sudden you hear this, did you want to rephrase that? And the recruiter would be like, what? I'm sorry, who's this? And this would be Colonel, yeah. And it was so much fun. But these guys, and then my Aunt Yvonne Stalteri, these folks, especially Yvonne, I call her Aunt Yvonne, none of them are blood related. And when my family was going through trials and some other crises when I was growing up, they were there. I knew that, I mean, we were always together, their kids, and I used to babysit Captain Nelson's kids, and I would hang out in Grandpa Mitchell's office and just hang out there when my mom was working late at night with them, and to them and their families, you guys were family for me, and I thank you guys so much for being there through everything. There's many other folks, and one in particular, and I don't remember his name, which I feel awful for, but he came to my basic training to assist me, because my parents couldn't be there. They were in Germany, and he came to my graduation in Texas because he was there, and came to get me on my one-day pass. And to this day, there's so many things I want to tell him, and if he ever finds me, I just want him to know I love you very much, to you and your family. So I've gotten that all out there. Okay, we can continue. Those folks deserve to be recognized, because they're closer to me than my blood family, because I grew up with military family everywhere.
Well, and I bet you would say that who you are today, in so many ways, is a tribute to them, and what their love and support, and just when you needed a shoulder to lean on.
Definitely, 100%, and they were there for my mom, and they taught me humor. Colonel Mitchell was prior military police before he became, did his position, and the humor I probably should not have heard. But then the other humor, I mean, and what Colonel Priest, and when my mother used to work at USAFE headquarters overseas, they used to have rubber band wars. Here's 6 colonels on the floor throwing foil bombs and doing rubber band wars. And my mom started it, I learned how to play. You work hard, you play hard, and I'm so grateful. And playing, by the way, folks, is so important. There's working hard, and there's doing what you got to do, but going back to taking that time for you and taking care of you. Remember to play.
And laugh. Remember to laugh.
Yes.
Laugh is so therapeutic, and I know you echo that. Anybody that plays wants to laugh, and
yeah.
Laughter that I remember how both our boys laughed, and it's in my heart, it's in my mind, and I'm so thankful. And after after they died, I didn't know if I could laugh again. If there's anybody out there listening that's lost somebody, you wonder, can you smile? Can you ever laugh again? And I think sometimes you struggle with that because it's like you're sad, but you want to find joy, but it's a time, it's a process. I know Nicole would say that you don't just get over something. You don't just all of a sudden get well from a loss, from a death. But when you can find something to be thankful for, I think that's probably what Nicole would say too. Just when we take baby steps and just with gratitude,
Amen.
Eventually it's part of the healing. And then when you can be really grateful, you can't help but smile. And then with a lot of smiling comes laughter. Eventually.
And you guys, there is no cheaper form of therapy than laughter. And Carol, you and I have been laughing since we've been laughing in the background, and isn't it interesting how that tool is available to us, even when life can. I will say this, folks, in military, it can suck. I mean, you just want to go whiskey tango foxtrot, and if you don't know what that is, you can ask someone else, because there's no cursing allowed on the radio. And because there's kids, but you can say that and go, what on earth? And just, it can be the worst of moments. I remember when I was in Afghanistan, there was a pretty hairy moment, and some of us had to look at each other because we had just moved into this bomb shelter, and we looked funky. I mean, pulled out of sleep, threw on our gear, and ran over, and we just had to laugh. And here we are in a really uncomfortable position. And there was laughter, and we were okay. It was nervous, but it was okay. And as soon as everything was done, we went back to what we were doing, and it wasn't something.
Nicole, I think it's kind of like letting a little bit out of the balloon.
Yeah.
You're in a high-stress environment, but when you could laugh a little, let some of the tension out and some of the stress. With a giggle, with a chuckle. And
it's a lot better than letting it out. I'm going to be very careful about what I say next. There is a time and place for every emotion. And sometimes anger comes out. And that is okay. Just choose, as Carol said, a safe environment to do so. With somebody who will fully support and love you and be a good listening ear. Okay? So I say that very carefully. But on the flip side, when it begins to go beyond that, laughter can serve much better than the anger. But, like I said, there is a time and place for every single emotion. So I had to be very careful about how to put that out there, Carol.
No, you said it beautifully, and then there's your little chuckle that we all love.
Thanks. Thank you. I believe in chuckling.
It's therapeutic. No. I think it's a kind of therapy. You have a beautiful laugh, and it's so heartfelt. I love to hear you laugh. So
good. Laugh with me. But
it's possible not to.
Good. I like hearing that. The more people laugh, the more people reach out and assist each other. And we talked about this offline on Friday, wasn't it? Where helping each other actually does a lot in the form of therapy.
Well, it does, and I think you can truly, I have found that you can laugh and cry at the same time because life can be so overwhelming. But in both cases, you're getting it out. Talking, laughter, tears, anything that keeps so that it doesn't stay inside of it's too big. What life right now, most everybody, and I've been through a lot, I have, but now I know, I don't know that I knew this before, but every single person is fighting some kind of battle. If they're not, their spouses or their mom, somebody's going through some kind of struggle. And so I think we have to be able to let these emotions go somewhere. And so I think finding safe people, but nobody's immune. This is like you said it earlier, life can suck, life married, and she's in New York with the love of her life. But we talk about, fairy tales being one day at a time. And I will tell you, all of you, I'll remember about, I guess, it's probably been almost 2 months ago now, the houses in Queens, New York, and Rockaway, the Breezy Point area, where that all burned to the ground. All of Melanie and Joe's wedding gifts and everything, where that his parents' home was in Queens, New York. They lost everything, and they're in a tiny apartment in Manhattan. They're all safe. Nobody died, and of course we all know in that tragic storm there were people that died. But again, Joe and Melanie were like overwhelmed. And I mean, there is insurance. They'll eventually, but there are things they can't buy at a store.
Yeah.
Like their letter jackets from high school, their yearbooks, photo albums, things like that. You know what? Melanie called and she said, Mom, we're okay. We have each other. Everybody's safe. And I think, it's like, really? Life? What else? And she said, Mom, I don't know what life's going to throw at us, but Joe and I are okay. We're just holding on to each other, and they were holding on to Joe's family that lives up there, and it just, you hear, like, people have heard about Melanie and Joe's love story and how happily ever after. Well, that's one day at a time, and they are very, very happy right now. We're so thankful, but it's not like you have to just, you can never just stop having the effort that it takes to ensure that all your relationships are exactly where you want them to be. And we just don't take anything for granted. We truly live one day at a time. Every relationship is precious, and we take nothing for granted.
You know what? We could have a total segment on just counseling for marriage, because it's funny. Marriage, it is the most, now, again, this is a very careful statement, and listen carefully to what I'm about to say. It is the most abusive relationship ever. And I'm not talking physical, all the typical words of abuse. I mean, we go through everything with our loved ones. When you love somebody and you have committed your life to them, and I'm going to actually use my own relationship and no one else's, so I'll speak from a purely personal perspective. When we love somebody so deeply, it doesn't matter what happens, we want to be at their side. So we go up and down through the roller coaster of life going, what on earth? Did that really just happen? Okay, it's another thing for us to get over. And that is where the happiness comes from, all those wonderful roller coaster craziness that happens that just beats on us. I mean, I'm talking about life, getting us. And that's why I say an abusive relationship in that sense. It's not from a hit. It's never okay to hit or to abuse someone emotionally, ever. But when I say abusive, I'm talking from the standpoint of life is beaten on us. And it is through all those wonderful wonderful trials and tribulations of life that we attain the perfect relationship. And I'm so grateful for those ups and downs. Because I look at my husband, boy, have we had some ups and downs, and we've only been married 4 years. It'll be 4 years this January. And it's been crazy. And having each other through all those trials, and through the storms of life, and through just everything. We've gone through some things, and nobody's, just so you guys know, trauma is trauma is trauma. Nobody's trauma is any worse or any better than anyone else's. No storm is so terrible that you can say it's worse than anything else that anyone has ever been through. Everybody has trauma, and we all deal with it separately. But I'm so grateful that Melanie has her husband and he has her, because she said it right there. We are okay, we are happy, we have each other. Carol, that is amazing.
Well, it is amazing, and I will tell you, they bless their little hearts when they made it to the brink of where Joe's parents' house had been. It was covered in like a dirty, sewagey water, and they'd been told they couldn't touch anything. And this is where all their wedding gifts were stored, all their Christmas decorations, and this was just, I guess, 8 weeks ago. And she said when the first thing they saw three of their Christmas ornaments, and they only have about 15 or so. They've only been married a little over a year, and they were kind of floating in the floating in this nasty water, and then she saw a plaque, and somebody had made for her this plaque, and it had a picture of Jeffrey and Kevin, and actually Michael Cerrone, the young man I mentioned, the family friend that was killed in Iraq after our boys died, and somebody had made it for her, and it was floating in this horribly sewage water, and she called to tell me, and I said, oh, Melanie, that must have been so hard, and she said, no, it just reminded me the boys are still with me, and God is still with us, and it's just stuff. And I thought, wow, has my daughter come a long way? 10 years down the road since Kevin died, and 9 years since Jeffrey died, and I just, again, post-traumatic growth, but it's because of the love, support, and again, not to take away the professional care.
No.
We did seek out mental health professionals. All of us did. We needed our friends, but sometimes people can break physically and break psychologically, and we didn't do that for Kevin. We did not give him the care he needed. So we did our.
But I'm going to acknowledge something really fast before we go to our break. You can treat the soldier, but the soldier's not fully treated until the family is there okay with him. So I'm listening to you, and I'm hearing, I believe with all my being that, I know with all my being that Melanie has reached post-traumatic growth because of the love and support that she has received. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this right here. And folks, we're going to go ahead and take a break. For those of you on Spreaker, you can go to the next segment. And I thank you so much for listening to the PTSD Retreat Radio Talk Show. This is your host, Nicole Johnson Starr, with guest Carol Graham. We'll be right back.